Hello and welcome to another Wednesday live stream. Welcome back. We've got me, Miranda, and my co-host here, Miss Flo.
Yellow.
The painter Flo. We've also got disembodied voice here on the side, chiming in.
Hello.
Chiming in whenever he feels like. Hope you guys are all having a lovely Wednesday, and I hope you guys are ready for the holiday season. It's bearing down upon us, whether we like it or not. It's coming at us. Its pants around its ankles. Anyway, yeah, it's been a busy time. So, I put out a poll yesterday in case you didn't know, but a ton of you responded, so thank you for that. I want to say there were, how many? Let me pull up the actual image.
Yeah, it's a lot of responses.
It was a lot of responses. 378 votes on that. Of how were you introduced to Warhammer tabletop games? And one of the things I was thinking about was like how video games influence war games, either in just creating a familiarity, which is probably its strongest aspect, or getting people into the hobby. And it was interesting. I guess I wasn't surprised, though, that the highest number by far, 48%, was introduced by a friend or family. I mean, that definitely applied to me. I think that applied to you, disembodied voice.
Yeah.
Probably applied to you too, Flo.
7th grade or 9th grade.
Yeah.
I had a friend tell me about it.
Okay.
For Warhammer, it was you guys.
Okay.
However, Games Workshop, I was introduced to them when I was younger. I believe I told you my family saw them playing the Lord of the Rings game.
Right, at a game store.
And they had bought some of that. And
Okay. So it was kind of your introduction. It didn't make you play or anything at that point. You were just
no, my
familiar.
family was just like, here are these models that we didn't prime or anything. Now paint on top of them. And they were metal. So.
Yeah, there's a lot you don't know as a kid.
No, but, you know.
But a lot of the comments in here are really super interesting, and I realized after reading several of them that I probably should have put one of the options as YouTube, being introduced to Warhammer through YouTube, because there were quite a few people who commented on that. Michael Gray had mentioned that he was introduced through Rogue Trader in 1988, and it was so cool that he bought an RTB-1 Space Marine off him for 50p, so that's kind of fun. The SSG in my unit, when I brought up Magic the Gathering, told me about Warhammer 40k. That was Jacob Hamilton. Ray Kubik stumbled across a YouTuber named Uncle Adam. So, Uncle Adam. Yeah, I know. I don't know. I think he does something with minions.
Huh. Sounds like an odd fellow.
Yeah. Collaboration with Magic the Gathering. G Stellar mentioned he saw Abaddon on the cover of the Chaos box and thought, damn, he looks sick, and pulled me in and hasn't let me out. So, Chaos, I guess, is where you were going with that one. Bailey, I think my first interaction with Warhammer was on a forum for solo board gamers. Someone mentioned Warhammer within it and spawned a long, crippling addiction. Which is funny for solo board games. So hasn't that only been a thing for the last, like, maybe 10 years at the most?
Advanced Hero Quest, you could play solo. I don't know about the original Hero Quest. I don't know if that had rules for solo or not, but the first one I got was Advanced.
Okay. Screech mentions I was at a gaming convention to play BattleTech, and someone, there was a demo table on the corner for 40K. I remember that we laughed about it at Adepticon many, many years ago when War Machine was in Mark II. They had like the 2x2 demo tables right outside the 40K tournament halls. So, you know, you get some distraught gamer coming out like, screw this game, it's so unbalanced, they don't even care about us. And you're like, hey, you want to play this?
No, hey, fellow gamer. Perhaps you'd like to walk up to this little podium.
Yeah, right.
Look at this simple game.
I know. John Doe, in 1994, when I walked into a little game store in Lake Geneva, they had some Magic the Gathering and a bunch of Warhammer sealed on the shelf. I was hooked almost immediately. I'm not sure if he meant to Warhammer or Magic the Gathering. Although I guess...
Possibly both.
Yeah, I mean, Magic is honestly kind of an insane IP, but that's a topic for a different time. JP Got Rockets, I just started getting into painting when I went to one of my skate bros' house, and I saw these figures on neat square bases, and that they were units of like kinds, unlike the hodgepodge of random figures that I had. I said to myself, Terrence, even though my name isn't Terrence, you have to get some of those. That's funny because the whole like idea of dudes on trays appealed to me more later. Like, it was not appealing at first. I liked the individual models moving around, although units are still fun, right? The like kind.
Although
but,
it's what Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
did,
the
right?
Song of Ice and Fire game. I was going to say you have that tray, and that I found quite fun. Although we were joking about Legions Imperialis games for 40K.
What is it? Kings of War?
Yeah.
I like theirs, where it's just
Kings
sort of
of War, yeah.
the big footprint, and
Yeah.
they're not individual guys on it. You can just sort of, you just
Do
make
what you
almost like a little
want.
diorama on there.
Yeah.
I actually like that a lot.
That's true. I've never tried that game, but it's definitely fun. Shane, it started with Talisman, then picked up Mighty Empires. My group enjoyed it so much, we all put money in to pick up the new Warhammer Fantasy 4th edition. They now curse me for having bought Mighty Empires and creating this addiction we all now have. They curse you while playing still. Someone said my videos. I started watching to learn War Machine, and I found your video on Space Hulk. I came late to the party. It's never too late.
I mean, to be fair, I was pretty late to the party overall also, so.
Paul mentions, I was out with my parents as a kid. I noticed all the models in the window of GW. They got me a couple of metal Terminators, and then for my birthday that year, I got 2nd edition. Okay. Aw, little tiny Paul running around. Space Crusade in 1991 was another answer. I'm partway through the comments. I was just going to finish them all, and then I'll go over whatever all you guys are saying. Another one said, got into it through local game store, fell out for a while, and then got back via YouTube. And I wonder how much mini wargaming really did to remind people of that game and let them know that community exists. Another one, Alpha Busa, or Brava Alpha Busa in the TTS series.
Never understood that guy's humor.
No, I didn't either. It clearly touched a lot of people. Got me into a local game store to ask about it, and that was all it took. 4 years and 5 armies later. I regret nothing. 5 armies, my goodness. Necron T, you're quite the fan. Imperial Jake picked
It's like
up...
reading The Hobbit.
Picked up a William King Ragnar book on deployment, saw a picture in the back of miniatures, came back and went to a local hobby store and purchased Battle for McCrag starter set. Nice. Gallows, we were already playing Warhammer Fantasy Battle, so when GW made a sci-fi game, we picked it up, Fall of '87. Used proxies at first because I was buying minis with paper route money. Do people know what a paper route is anymore?
I don't know. Does somebody have one in Stranger Things? That'd probably be the only way most people would know anymore.
I don't know. That's a good question. Super Duper Happy Time says, was making a role-playing campaign and wanted it to end in a large battle. Eventually stumbled upon Warhammer Fantasy Battles from there. This was 10 years ago, so there weren't any of the other fantasy games we have today. There would have been some, only 10 years ago. Blake says, stumbled across some 40K battle reports on YouTube and started me down the rabbit hole. Uncle Jerk says, I am 33 years old and I got into it back in 1997. I looked in a magazine, and in the back of the magazine, it was an article for what would today be an advert for a Comic-Con in Malmö, Sweden. It had a little square in the corner showing some of the cool models saying Warhammer 40K, and my kid brain was hooked. That's so cute. And Gareth says in 1989 or 1990, I was at my friend's birthday party, and he got Space Crusade from his parents, and from there it was a slippery slope. I don't know Space Crusade. Did you ever play it?
No, but I saw it. I saw the box. Like, I knew it was around. I just didn't buy it.
Okay.
A friend of mine might have got it, but he might have got it just to get the little models from inside. 'Cause
Gotcha.
I believe it's like, not a knockoff, but like a sort of expansion for Space Hulk. It's like a different board game, but kind of similar premise still.
Gotcha.
And it was more than just like Terminators and Gene Stealers too. There's like a bunch of other stuff in it. I think even a Dreadnought,
Oh,
like a weird looking one.
unlike the regular, normal looking ones. Anyway, DJ Rockford says Hero Quest. You played Hero Quest. I think I played Hero Clicks at one time as a kid, but never Hero Quest.
Yeah, those are very different things.
Yeah. Larry Brown, I started reading the books on my first deployment. Rick Pop says, my father took me to a GW store in about 1993. He was a big fan of Lord of the Rings. So a story a little bit more similar to Fliz.
Yes, that's more like what happened to me.
Adam Davies says, 34 years ago, my school friend showed me RBO-1 Space Marines, and shortly after made my first journey into Games Workshop on Queen Street in Glasgow.
By the way, if anyone in chat knows what that is, I was trying to figure out what an RBO1 is.
Spent hours looking at the cabinet, blister packs, etc. I left with the Imperial Guard box set of 36 Guardsmen for £10 and have played tabletop games ever since. I cannot hear more. I cannot hear more than a feeling without thinking of an amazing store. Oh, that's great.
I remember that box too. Like the Guardsmen look so silly. They look like they're all wearing motorcycle helmets.
Yeah. I mean, I like the new Cadian Stands box. I've heard some complaints on Reddit of people being like, these guys don't look cool. But
they're very spaceman looking.
yeah, there's definitely a style to them. So I don't hate them. Gosh, I got over 100 of them, of the old kind. So.
No, these are even older.
Oh, even older. Mm-hmm. Oh
They're
gosh.
like
oh, because they'd be metal.
No, I think they were plastic actually.
Really?
Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's like 36 of them in a box. It's just crazy. But it was. I'm trying to remember what it was because even the gun, the last gun, it's like it's not a Ryza style or a. I'm trying to remember what it is, but they always show it in there. It's like a weird looking one, but even the last guns look kind of bizarre.
Well, it's like they're getting their legs under them, and they came from fantasy, right? And so they're doing this sci-fi thing that's based on all manner of pop culture.
No, it looks like a laser pistol with a very, very long barrel that kind of makes it into a rifle, kind of.
Excellent. Valdemar in says, I went to a yard sale where I found a book for 1 cent. I have now bought over 180 books.
So I wonder if that was a rule book or a novel.
Sounds like a novel, but I don't know, actually. Mark Wendt says, I first found out about GW products from a game called Battle Masters, a board game from the 90s. There was a little pamphlet in the box advertising GW and offered a catalog of sorts. You familiar with Battle Masters?
It sounds familiar. If I saw it, I'd probably recognize it.
And then Mandragora, always appreciates his thoughtful responses. The old memory is a bit spotted, but I'm positive I didn't know anything about it before 8th grade when I was seriously introduced to Mech Warrior 2. Was he here today? Okay. Via video game magazine poster with readouts of the individual mechs on the reverse. By the time I went to college, my best friend and I visited a comic shop, and he heavily suggested we get into Mech Warrior Dark Age. I don't know why he was into it, but the mechs clicked with my memory of a computer game I never played because I never had a computer. He did, and introduced me to the Dawn of War in passing, which I liked enough to play, but nothing past that. I might have seen the codexes at a comic shop, but I made the mistake of picking up Space Orcs, skimmed it, and dismissed it as nothing more than pale imitation of Warcraft orcs. I've since dropped the word imitation, but not the rest of my opinion. Fast forward maybe 4 years, and I was out of college playing, Mech Warrior Dark Age, and my faction was being retired, and I had nothing to spend my cash on anymore. My usuals at the game shop convinced me to buy into the shop owner's unpainted pewter mini skirmish game to support his business. A year later, that was as good as dead, so I graduated to 40K with the rest of them. I bought a 3rd edition Chaos Space Marine Codex for $5, and soon after used Corn Berserkers lot, and grew it on. Wow. So there you go. More chaos. People and their chaos. It's fine. I appreciate all the good stories
It's all the
here.
spiky bits.
All the spiky bits. And then the last one mentioned Blood Bowl in 1997. So amazing comments. Love all the stories of how people got into it. It's so cool. It's okay, Jeremy. You can still add comment on the poll if you like. All right. So I haven't said hello to everyone in the chat yet, so I apologize.
Hi, everybody.
I got so excited about talking about the poll. I was like, I'm going to stay on topic for at least 10 minutes.
It was just, we got such a huge response. Oh, speaking of response, everybody who's watching us right now, everybody thumb up the video. Even people in the future who are watching it, after it's live, you guys got to thumb it up too.
Yes, please. Paul, thank you as always for being the moderator here and for your story on how you got into wargaming, or into Warhammer at least. Hello, 1814. Hello, back. Thomas Grable, welcome to the chat. Let's see, Paul. I like the strategic blurring of the Space Marine's bolter on the thumbnail. Is that there to stop YouTube from burying the video?
He was just being obscene with his bolter. Just had to censor him.
And that's what I think. It constantly looks censored to me. But
The idea was that he's like, it's a model and he's like turning into a video game. Or he's being censored, one or the other.
I feel like censor is just the first place you go because it's his lower half. I think that's why.
So if it would have been the other way around,
I don't think it would have occurred to people the same way now. Or if it had been just
I think it
split
looked
like perfectly
weird.
down the middle.
maybe down the middle.
Yeah,
he
yeah.
wasn't really.
No,
standing
he
in
wasn't
that kind of
posed that way, but
yeah.
basically you've misled our audience. They're expecting
did.
a way more interesting show now.
Here for a Space Marine show.
The Plunder Den, good evening. Hello. Patty's Parlor, good to see you, man. Hope you're doing all right. Revek, welcome. Hope everyone's well. Paul says the super old card based GW game Chainsaw Warrior was solo play. Okay, so that's another one. Super
Oh
old.
wow, that didn't even sound familiar to me.
Chainsaw Warrior. I wonder if it even released out here. Patty's Parlor. Oh man, I was super excited for it. The Other Side of Weird Malifaux. I thought their multi-basing idea was pretty cool. The other side is the RPG, isn't it? Oh no, that's Through the Breach.
Through
The breach is that. The other side is Malifaux residents invading the human world.
Oh.
Is that a
Yeah, it's the
miniature
other
game
side.
still?
Yeah,
Okay.
I believe so. I've seen models for it.
Fair enough. Revok says it was the Space Crusade game that I got for Christmas that started it off for me. Then my sister's boyfriend took me to GW in the nearest big city. Ah. Paul says a friend of mine had Space Crusade. It was awesome.
No, Space Crusade seemed like an interesting game.
Like, can you still get a copy of it somewhere?
I mean, probably off of eBay.
Oh man. Okay.
There's a lot of videos out there giving tribute to Space Crusade. They'll tell you all about it.
Patty says, D&D got me into war games, but I played video games because they were cheaper, and the dudes in the 40K community actually weren't super welcoming when I was first curious. Yeah, your meta really kind of makes or breaks games, I think, in a lot of ways. It's one of the things we'd kind of commented on when we were watching the poll numbers come in, because right away people said, friend or family introduced you to it, and that number really
it was
didn't
like
go down.
50% of all people being
Yeah.
introduced to the game was that way, I think.
Nearly,
What
yeah.
did it end up being at?
48.
48, okay.
But it reminded us back in the days of, what was it, Outriders, I think is what GW had.
Yeah.
Press
Press
Gangers,
Gangers and-
whatever WotC had, or whatever,
Oh man, I'm trying to remember what Weird had.
or Wizards of the Coast. What did Weird have for people who were representing their game?
I don't know. I don't think I ever interacted with them.
Oh, okay. But either way, Infinity,
was just like, "Ooh,
like the
pretty
people
models."
who, so you have like these
Just
sort of,
weirdos. That's what they're called.
that might be
Yes.
actually,
That would be amazing, actually. It'd be a missed opportunity if it wasn't.
right? For sure. But the idea of having these beacons, these people who act as beacons for a specific game by championing it, like Guillermo here in town had, I think, just nearly single-handedly developed and
Like
made this
the
enormous
largest
Infinity
meta in the world.
community here in Albuquerque, because he just brought so much energy to it, and he would show people, how to play the game and get them interested in it by providing all the options of the game. Like, it was always a really positive thing. Like, he built all kinds of terrain, which was used for Rumble on Route 66 when that was going. And having people like that who act as beacons who are going to be regularly showing up to the game store, whereas, someone kind of softly plays, or me, just like, I can show up sometime, sorry. Like,
Patty says they're henchmen. is what
oh,
weird hat.
okay, henchman. That makes sense. Thomas says, I played Mordheim back in the day. Great game. I would still play it. Mordheim is fun. I actually enjoyed.
Well, Chris,
I only played the video game version of
brought
it.
Mordheim board.
He brought a
to
Mordheim
Valhalla
board to
several times, I
Valhalla.
thought.
We played War Machine on it.
Oh, you and Dan played War
No,
Machine.
me
on it.
and Josh.
I
Josh.
thought it was Dan playing with you.
You don't know nothing. Dan and I played other games. I still have to beat him in War Machine, but he's off. I think he's gotten into Infinity now. But either way,
Who has?
Dan. He'll message me sometimes. He's like, I'm at an Infinity tournament.
Oh, yeah.
Haven't played this game before. Probably gonna take third place. I'm like, whatever, Dan. Just do your thing. He's like this, I don't know, weird game prodigy. Revox says, it was Paul and a blatant gateway drug that worked. Oh yeah, the Space Crusade was good. Jeremy says, hi. Paul says, I still own the PC version of Space Crusade from 1995. Man, there's something about those games from the 90s that have a little bit of a charm to them.
What's the one that you always play? There's like, it's like a 3/4 down and it's like Weirdos from Outer Space or something like.
That I currently play?
No, that used to
used to
play
play?
way back.
Oh, I used to
You
play a
got it in-
weird computer game. It was on DOS. It
Yeah,
was called
well, that's what Paul
Degeneration.
said. Yeah, the MS-DOS version.
Yeah, okay, that's true. Yeah, I had MS-DOS.
That's right.
You had to-
Degeneration.
Degeneration.
Yeah.
You played this dude who worked for a corporation, and the corporation had, I think, AIs that had run amok. And so you had to get to the top floor of this huge corporate building. So each level was a level, right? Each floor was a level. And you got a little laser, and it was sort of a puzzle game because the laser would bounce around, and so you would try to kill the dude who was blocking your path using
Yeah.
like that.
Well, you found like an emulator or something.
No,
years ago,
yeah, I think on a
'cause I saw you
browser
play
or
it.
somewhere. Yeah, that's right. I don't know why that game sticks in my head. I did beat it, I think, but I wasn't amazing at it. So, anyway. Good old Degeneration. What a weird game. That one and like Number Munchers. And there was a weird maze game too, but of the CD pack of games we had, like only 2 of the games ran. I think chess was another one on there.
I remember that. You get a magazine that came with a demo CD, and it just had like level 1 of a bunch of games, but you could install them and like check them out.
Yeah.
Kind of fun.
Xbox did that. The Orange Disc or something like that was how you got to play like previews of games that were getting ready to come out. I think I played Metal Gear Solid Sons of Liberty before it came out through that. Let's see. Jeremy says Battle Masters is a small scale game. Okay. Patty, yeah, the other side was their big battle game. Some of the Malifaux models could be used for either. Didn't get much praise. Models were pre-assembled. Really weird plastic. Game was okay. They had poker chips that were like secret currency you could use at events that Weird showed up at. Oh, that's fun. Like they try to
that is
create a little
cool.
bit of a secret society thing going on.
Yeah.
I mean, that idea is really good. You just have to have a good game to back it up, I guess.
Yeah, at least a good enough one. Or if just everybody plays it, the game doesn't actually have to be that good, we've learned. Patty Spyler, I played Frostgrave on the Mordheim board. Okay. He said, I was able to beat Dan, only just barely. Jeremy, Infinity is a trash game. Jeremy always is even-handed as ever. Albert Padro Trias. Speaking of Infinity, I don't know if this is breaking news, but there's an Aristaic video game in the works. Teaser trailer for it's on YouTube. Yeah, I saw the
that's
announcement
cool.
for that
I
actually.
did not see that.
Yeah, so that should be.
Ooh, you should do a review for it for Media Glitch. You could wear your Aristea shirt.
Oh, I could do that. I do. I like
That
the
was a
people
fun
at
game.
Corvus Belly. It was fun. Do you still have it?
Yes, I do.
Okay, yeah. It was a fun game. Let's see. One Shot Wonders. I'm new to wargaming. I'm starting with War Machine though. Okay, are you playing 4th edition or 3rd edition? Like, how are people introducing you to the game? Because one of the things I'm realizing is there is a parallel gaming community in War Machine where people have not left 3rd edition. So I'm curious how you have been introduced to it. Let's see, so Thomas says, welcome, what army are you starting? Andrew, I have no sound, but I must chat. But we have sound, right? Our sound is coming through, okay. One Shot Wonders, I'm close to getting everything I need for Protectorate, but I also got the starter box for Shadowflame. Oh, okay, so the Shadowflame would be the new set. Although Protectorate would be 3rd edition, so, Patty's Parlor, that's pretty cool, Albert, check it out. Hello, JP Got Rockets. No worries, man. Welcome to the chat. Plunder Dead says, the first tabletop game I ever played was Battlemaster. I did a video on the game on my channel and brought it back. Paul, apparently you can play Space Crusade PC in your browser on the My Abandonware website. I'll have to try that later. Yeah, no kidding. Thomas says, Protectorate has always been cool, and Shadowflame looks pretty neat. Hello, Reatheners. Welcome, welcome.
That's cool. I want to play Space Crusade on PC.
Yeah.
Sounds awesome.
Well, check out the My Abandonware website. Yeah, I wonder what old games are in there. Dig through them, see
Wonder if
what.
the old Space Hulk game too.
Oh.
Like they had it on PC. They also had it on PlayStation 1.
Oh, goodness. Michael Gray says, Wargame adaptations to video games peaked with the Amiga version of HeroQuest. Oh, goodness. Hated dipping out of that interview. Oh, no. What did I miss? If you're watching another thing, JP, like, you don't have to, I don't want to force you to be anywhere.
Yeah, but Patty's here. So who's interviewing at Patty's Parlor?
Video games. Now, thanks to, do people still use Humble Bundle? I know that was big years ago, but I haven't even looked at it in a long time. But
No idea.
of which, like, at least 50% of them I've never even played or installed on Steam.
We're getting a weird warning about bit rates.
Yeah, I know, and it's still doing it.
Is it not set correctly?
No, it's set fine. It's just the internet.
Oh.
Yeah.
Huh.
Let's see. Jeremy says, I must have a bad connection. I keep losing it all. It makes me sad. Oh. Is anybody else getting a bad connection? We're getting some bit rate droppings. Bit rate droppings?
That's how you track bit rates when you're hunting them. Well, it says stream status is good now.
Yeah, I keep checking it. It keeps dinging us with a little warning. I don't know what's going on with the internet. Like, the weather's changing and the world's falling apart, so it's possible. Patty was interviewing Blaine Pardoe, who wrote for BattleTech before being canceled. Oh. Sound keeps dropping out on me too. Oh, so Michael is having sound dropping.
I think I'm hearing it too a little bit.
Grumble. Yes, Mandragora, I actually read your answer on that out loud for the chat so everyone could hear it. Thank you so much for sharing. And Paul's audio is dropping in and out. Arrgh. Yeah, sound's cutting out. So I don't know if you want to just try resetting it.
Well, it sounds okay now.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
Okay. Well, I don't have a lot I could do because I would have to literally like stop the stream to to try and mess with that. So good. It says minor issues.
Well, Dana says his audio's fine. Hey, Dana, how you doing?
Hey. Let's see. Patty, I streamed on Sunday, and 25% of my stream was lost to the ether. Oh, gosh. Thomas, Stephen Wright talked about a friend who was an AM disc jockey, and when he walked under an overpass, you couldn't hear him. Wow. I think Command and Conquer series is what made me easily get into 40K back in 2003 when I first started. Seeing an army spread out over the board just made it so appealing. Yeah, the whole diorama setup, the freeform, like not being a board game, but having like terrain and stuff, really made it cool.
Wait, Command and Conquer was the computer game, right?
I think so.
Yeah. Because I remember you do like your Kadoran character, and everybody would call you whatever the girl character was in Command and Conquer. There was like a Russian girl.
Nice. Jeremy says, I painted a 20-year-old giant from WOTC chainmail game yesterday. It was exciting. It was exciting to get such an old model and painted. Huh. How do you feel it holds up to today's modeling? Like, I don't know if there's a note, what would you call it? Like detailflation or something that a lot of new models have because of everything being designed in a 3D space. I mean, it was kind of a common complaint with some of the weird models, and possibly some of the Infinity models, the fiddly bits problem of just things being too dynamic or too delicate. And then, of course, you look at like freaking Age of Sigmar models now, and they're just like mind-blowing. But like
I remember the weird ones had like whips and stuff that were all around. It's just like, those are going to break.
The 10 Thunders had a really
I tried
bad
not
breakage.
to look at them because I knew just my gaze on them would break them.
Yeah, like the weight of photon light hitting them too. It's just dangerous for them. Jeremy says, that is Command and Conquer Red Alert, Tommy. Get it right.
Oh, sure, but who's the Russian girl?
It'll
But
be up on
apparently, whenever
Cell or
her
something.
idle animation, if you left her alone, she'd start doing push-ups, like while she was waiting for orders.
It sounds very, very. Let's see, there's some 3D sculptors that just try way too hard, and some don't try hard enough. Well, it's weird, because you can 3D model in just anyone who has access to that software. I don't have a way of doing that. We'll try that. See if that works.
All right. I think we have audio again.
Good times. Someone says suggested Tanya.
Oh, I think it might have been. That sounds right.
Hmm.
So, what were you talking about?
Just how models are designed now versus
We were
how they were
talking about
designed in
how,
like the 90s.
Everybody has access to 3D animation software.
Well, yeah, so
I
it's
think one of the problems that we're running into now, especially with people only designing in a 3D computer space rather than in actual space, is they have these ideas of all these different shapes and all the different details they can put on them, but they don't understand how those work in a real world space as much. Like how the balance works, how all those are going to fit together, how easily they're going to break off. So it looks really cool, but when it comes to having it in the 3D space, it is
like in reality.
in reality.
Yeah.
It is just not. It's
Well,
not
just
fun to
things
work
actually
with.
having a tensile strength and a weight are two
Yes.
things that you don't need in a 3D environment.
Well, and it seems like with 3D printing now, you can get away with doing that even more.
Sort of, but I don't think, like, I think the high impact polystyrene that like, injection molded models are made of is still stronger than most of the resin pieces I've
Oh, it's
seen.
stronger for sure, but because those injection molds need to go into molds that have no undercuts and no, like, there's no supports like you can have in a 3D resin model.
Although, man, I'll still say, like, the push fit Terminator Marines that came in the Space Hulk set are still some of the most brilliantly engineered, like, miniatures I've ever seen.
Oh, I know. I mean, as long as you don't care about customizing them, because that push fit thing is on point.
I feel like almost nothing is customizable now. Like,
no,
the
that's
model
true.
kits have kind of gone back into that.
No, even putting together all of the Katie and Stan's box set, like, there's some sort of optimization that has clearly happened because your guardsman will have like half a torso in kind of a weird shape, right? It's not intuitive. So clearly that's designed for some kind of min-maxing of...
For only one exact other top of a torso, and you can't swap them.
Right. So, yeah, you can't just put a torso on different legs. Like, you have half a torso that needs to connect to another half of the torso that already has both legs attached or something like that in the same mold. So modifying is not so easy. However, because there are so many other companies out there that make knockoff models or just 3D printable generic dudes or generic parts, I wonder if that has made up for the inability to kit bash, I guess, and modify with those.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of like little extra mod pieces out there floating around the internet. You can do tons of. I don't even know that it's kit bashing anymore. It's just sort of.
Yeah,
it's just sort of accessorizing, maybe.
Kind of. So it's cool. Mandragora says, it's hard to be sure when I first spotted anything because there's so many ads and attention grab me's everywhere trying to get you into something and then you're already hooked on something else. Well, and you had mentioned like you kind of got into 40K finally after trying a few different things, but I mean 40K has such a strong following because it's stable. I mean, you don't want to invest $1,000 into an army if no one's playing it. Like, that doesn't feel good. Video games are a lot more throwaway because you can get a ton of video games for under like $10. It's just not the same price point, and it doesn't demand the same time investment. We just bought a whole bunch of Warhammer games on Steam because they're so cheap. Yeah, well, yeah, you did. And then I had a bunch on there, like, and not all of them are great, but they're fun. Like Dawn of War 2, I think, is still probably the penultimate, and Space Marine, you know, those two. Although I did really enjoy Mechanicus. Yeah. Let's see, JP got rockets. I'll keep a weather eye open. Jorvex, what are you drinking? I'm drinking Zevia ginger ale, and now I've swapped to my Earl Grey tea because it's that kind of night. Need the caffeine of the late night caffeine of my Earl Grey.
Is it tea Earl Grey hot?
I think he drank it black, and I'll do that in the mornings, but this has a little bit of half and half in it. So sugar, no sugar, just some cream. Anyway, Patty's Parlor, I'm kind of learning about digital art attention to detail versus what a home printer can reliably print with my 2D art. It's easy to get lost in the details. Well, and that's where you sort of need to, where I would at least suggest getting into styles. You know, like World of Warcraft, you look at the graphics, and it's obviously not photorealistic. It doesn't look like you're running around in, I guess Skyrim would be like one of the comparisons. But because it has its own art style, it can really just lean into and perfect that, and it makes it timeless. Whereas when you're constantly going for photorealistic, I mean, geez, do you remember Dungeons and Dragons Online?
I do.
Oh, God.
That was weird.
It was weird, exactly.
Another example of that is animation in movies.
Mm-hmm.
When DreamWorks tried so hard to have, or was it DreamWorks or Pixar? I think it might have been Pixar. Pixar tried so hard to have that photorealism look until they got to The Incredibles, and then they chose a style to go with. It's a stylized human.
Yeah, Pixar didn't do Incredibles, I don't think.
Or
was that Incredibles? I'm trying to remember now if it actually was. But Pixar
I
always
think
did
it was
more
Pixar
of a
because
stylized, I thought.
after that they went to Cars, and they were just like, well, you had the humans down. Where did you go? Wait, what?
Well, Cars is Pixar for sure.
Incredibles is Pixar.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Brad Bird. That's right.
So, yeah, it's the same thing where it's like...
But I just remember thinking like Ants was more of a cartoonish style. Yes. I'm sorry, Bugs Life was more cartoonish style, and Ants was the more sort of realistic look.
Mostly in
Kind
their
of.
color choice.
In color choice for
Yeah.
sure. They were very blocky.
Because even
though. They
Toy
had
Story,
very
right, when it
sharp
came out,
angles.
like the humans were
Yeah.
kind of very much cartoons.
Well, yeah, everyone looked like a balloon animal. Like there's this sort of inflated look.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's what it looks like.
But once they started leaning into that style for The Incredibles, it came out really nice because
Yeah.
they weren't
Well,
pushing
they were
those
more
boundaries.
of stylized, like impressionistic approach to people instead of trying to do anything realistic.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's
Whereas I think
it
of
worked
like
in its
Shrek,
favor.
right? Like DreamWorks was Shrek.
Yes,
And that stuff
DreamWorks
seemed
is
like
Shrek.
it was kept trying to verge on being realistic. Like
The, you know.
caricaturized, but all the textures and stuff, I think they're leaning for a realism.
Yeah, I think
Good
DreamWorks struggled a lot
film
with
was
that.
El Dorado, but that's not
But that's
3D.
cell animation.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, I was going to suggest if you wanted to swap out your dude there,
Sure, I can swap them out.
and show off some of the other pretty models on here.
Yeah, Flo has lots of trolls she's going to present to the internet.
Jeremy says, I love the Rackham figures. JP and I have a huge Wolfen and Griffey army. Mandragora, I absolutely remember I got into War Machine because, again, my best friend came for a visit in 2014, and we went to a game store, and I got interested in War Machine, the Mercs Codex, and took the dive. Yep.
Okay.
Oh, here's
So-
you.
I
So
remember
far in, if
we
you wanna make sure
played
to
War
focus.
Machine or got into it or whatever because we were sick of playing Warcraft. We wanted to just play some sort of
Yeah.
physical game.
Well, we were living in Oklahoma at the time.
So we went down to Game HQ.
Game HQ. And that was during Mark 1. So everything was huge, heavy models, the black and white cards. And we kind of derped around with it, but we didn't quite work it out, I don't think. But I was busy a lot too. Jerry DeBaca says, disagree. You can modify any model, even models between companies. I'm working on a Reaper / Ral Partha / Confrontation / Green Stuff / Mithril Dragon Man right now. All metal and green stuff. Okay.
With enough skill, you absolutely
Yeah, I was
can.
gonna say,
yeah.
yes, but your skill level has to be higher to do.
Yeah, you're talking about straight up sculpting. That is not what the what the peasants do. And I don't. Good on you if you can do that, because you're right. If you have your own skills and talents that you can bring, you have so much more agency in that. Absolutely. Yeah, that doesn't apply to me though. Let's see. Paul, I just grabbed a bunch of Night Lord heads from another company. I've got plenty of generic Chaos guys unbuilt. I can stick those on instead of buying a new box. Fair enough. JP Got Rockets. Workshop wanted to kill the secondary bits market, so they made it so they can't do leg, torso, arm / head. They were also going for more dynamic, but with plastics.
Wow, I
I
guess
feel
I
like
could
that's
kind of see
fascinating.
that being the case. Because like like older Space Marines, it's like, oh, you could get all these third-party like shoulder pads, or you could
Yeah.
get all this stuff, and they're like, nah, we're just gonna model them on now.
But I think that hasn't worked in their favor because there's so many other companies that just sell STL files for stuff you can print, and you have them anyway.
Yeah, it's like it just makes you commit. Whereas if you're going in on the secondary market, then it's just like, well, if GW is not going to let me buy bits for their models, I'll just buy these other people's cheaper models and just do them instead.
This seems crazy. Mandragora says, but nowadays, remembering how you got into a game is like trying to remember the first time you saw an ad for Rivet Wars or Hero Wars or Rage, Shadow Legends. Oh, poor Mandragora, you've been through so much. Albert Pedro Trias. Hey, speaking of gateway video games, what would you like in terms of a War Machine video game? Like dream scenario, what kind of game would you like to see? Okay, I've thought about this actually a whole lot.
You're like, hold on. Let me get in position
remember
here.
that trailer that you saw originally?
There's when White Moon Dreams was originally hired to do the War Machine video game, they put out this trailer that really just turned my brain up to 11, right? Like it was just it felt so perfectly on brand. It looked like you controlled warcasters, I think primarily, and there was some way they would, send signals to their warjacks,
like
but it was
Rainbow
like this very
Six or
action
something
game.
like that.
Uh-huh.
Almost like Rainbow Six, where you're kind of autonomous and you're doing your thing, but you
Yeah.
can swap over to them if you're focusing
Right.
on them or something like that, maybe.
Like the XCOM style, turn-based stuff. did not come in until way, way later. And, you know, White Moon Dreams was always really good about, like, their graphics. Like, all the models always looked amazing. And I thought, like, those models would still look great in whatever else you put them in, right?
Yeah.
As far as, I just don't think it should play like a tabletop game, though. I think it should be more like skirmishy, like something like Rainbow Six, where you just have a handful of characters and you're just doing a thing. Or it could even be like a good MOBA, frankly. I mean, I even said that with something like War Machine, because you've got like the cast of heroes, like Warcasters, and solos, you could have like a Smash Brothers style fighting game of all of them.
Like just anything.
Yeah, like
Just
there are
something
so
fun,
many cool
right?
options. Like do your feet once a game, once a round or whatever. Have cool things, like just something to really, really lean into the aesthetic of War Machine, because War Machine's aesthetic has always been absolutely incredible. It is the
yeah.
best rendition of steampunk you will ever see. And just selling that and absolutely doing away with anything that could even remotely feel like a clunky mechanic, just go away. Because it just needs to feel fun.
If you just had like a Crash Bandicoot, but with Gatormen, like just do that. Or
Yeah.
with Pharaoh.
Oh yeah, Pharaoh
There you
has a
go.
Crash Bandicoot game. Okay, yeah, you could do that. So it's kind of like, I think there's a ton of options at the hands of an IP like War Machine or the Iron Kingdoms. I mean, you could even lean into just the Iron Kingdoms RPG side and have like a little point and click adventure. Like even that would be something.
Oh yeah, like a little Final Fantasy 3 or something.
Yeah, exactly. Like I think the world's rendered perfectly well enough for all of those things. Just don't mimic the tabletop game. Like it did not need to happen at all.
Well, either figure out a way where it just is straight up a tabletop simulator, and that's just what it is, or make a video game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But don't like meet in the middle there. That's no man's land in the middle.
Yeah, it's the the valley of meh. and of course, there were a lot of problems specifically with War Machine Tactics when it first came out, because the idea was certainly ambitious, but it's like, I don't know that they were able to really capture the speed at which something like XCOM, like Mechanicus, plays in a very similar fashion, but it's way smoother.
Okay, yeah.
And you didn't run into weird issues. Like, there were just weird issues. And they did eventually, like, fix all of that stuff, but it took so long that it took a lot of the wind of the wind out of the sails of people. I think the game's on Steam now for, like, $15. Is that what you saw it for?
I'm trying to remember now. I know that
Yeah.
the expansion was like,
Just a few dollars, yeah. Dark Seduction, I want to say. It was like Haley and Denegra's story. So, I know that's where I come from with the video game side of it. And I think it would only help them to have like fun games out there like that. And I don't think it'd be that hard to find developers willing to develop for an already established IP. Like you have a built-in market right away for that.
well, I even wonder if you could, you know what I mean, if they would have even put it out as not really a loss leader, but just a very cheap license. Since
Yeah.
they like Privateer clearly wasn't interested in making video games or really doing that. And so it's almost like, well, then just pretend you're still doing that, but actually let people buy your license real cheap. So they can have kind of a cheap but built-in IP and built-in audience that they could develop for like upstart companies. And if their game sucks, it sucks and you move on, right? I know, what is it, Extra Credits did a few videos, like over the years on GW's style of just
Of just putting stuff
whoring
out.
their IP like everywhere, like
Well,
just letting anyone
The
give it a
good
shot.
stuff rose to the top.
Well, and the bad
and
stuff, everyone just forgot about and moved on.
Yeah,
Like, it
actually.
kind of worked out really well for GW,
It was,
I think.
yeah. And I don't know if that would always be the case. I mean, as Gav Thorpe says, don't do what GW does. Only GW gets to do what GW does.
I mean, that's fair, right?
So
well,
there's that.
sort of, but I mean, I think anyone with a solid intellectual property, right? I'm sure like GW or Star Wars or, you know, Lord of the Rings or, I mean, Iron Kingdoms is a smaller one, but is definitely one.
Yeah.
Or just anything that's a recognizable and established IP. I think there's a lot of people that would want to build something for, right? Especially game companies that are trying to prove something, you know, like upstart game companies. I don't know.
Seems useful. Mandragora says, oh, so Space Hulk was the first example of a non-customizable GW. I remember I had a good amount of options with my Corrin Berserkers, but by the Vengeance starter, it was uni models. Really? That early? Okay. JP got rock. Yeah.
I mean, technically, most of the white metal models were that way. The Space Marines were customizable. They had plastic arms and shoulder pads, and they just sort of had this little A-frame shape, just like legs and a torso and head.
Well, do you think that's part of what made Space Marines the most popular faction, other than being pushed in every corner of the earth?
Well, they're so popular because they just look cool. They're space knights, science fiction knights, which is just kind of neat. But also they're like the easiest thing in the world to paint, so you can kind of do cool stuff with them.
I'm going to fix the focus on this. I meant to do that earlier. Let's get a good focus.
Ooh, that's better.
There we go.
Really appreciate Flo's work there. JP got rockets. I didn't get the confrontation / Rackman stuff, but it was beautiful. I was moving into Warhammer Fantasy Battle, from Warhammer Fantasy Battle to 40k at the time. And the Mandragora continues, luckily Chaos Knights gives a decent amount of options since the bodies are large enough to tinker with. Yeah, that's fair. Plunder Den, I'm working on my lip sync performance for Abracadabra for my work Christmas party, trying to juggle with scarves at the moment. Oh!
All very worthy endeavors, sir.
I love it. Thomas Grable says those are lovely trolls, Flo.
Well, thank you.
JP got rockets. The original Space Hulk figures were customizable. The newer ones not so much, but not a deal breaker as you can sub in regular termies. The edition we had was they were like 3-piece Marines that socketed together. In fact, they were push fit.
Yeah, you
didn't really have to glue
them, which kind of blows my mind even.
Michael Gray, every model is customizable, has the same energy as you can eat anything once.
Yeah, that's great.
Oh my goodness, Patty. My two favorite STL makers right now are definitely one-page olds and probably Gamic. Wargames Atlantic is pretty good. Okay. Do you still get stuff from Loot Studios?
I don't think we do.
Okay.
I honestly have no clue
No
what
idea.
we get anymore. DJ is he controls all of that.
And then
Though I
Paul-
did, sorry.
No, you're good.
I did actually go into Colts 3D or something like that and start looking stuff up for Christmas presents because my brother wanted a couple of figures, Lord of the Rings figures, for Christmas.
Ah.
And so we're getting ready to print stuff for people.
Well, that'll be fun. Like Papsicles is, I think, another one. Then, of course, there's just like My Mini Factory. Dana, I don't know if he's still in the chat. I know his stuff is on My Mini Factory, and those are terrain sets, which always seem like one of the best uses of a 3D printer.
Man.
At least a
Yeah.
filament one. Let's see. Patty, yes. And I wanted that War Machine video game so bad.
Still say Lord Carver Bandicoot.
Lord Carver.
Go.
Oh my gosh. I don't know. Just any of those would be so fun. Drivax, how do you think Magic the Gathering did with the Warhammer crossover? I think they did a good job. I was
don't know. We couldn't get our hands on any cards.
Well, Aaron had some decks that we played at Valhalla the year it came out. And by the time we were playing those, like, you couldn't really I don't think you could get
What was it, the 40K Magic one?
the Commander's
I was
deck.
going to go all in on them, and
Well,
it's like,
we were gonna buy some, but by the time you got to the store to check them out, because they were kind of exclusive, like special cards
like they're sold
coming
out and they're not making
yeah,
anymore.
they sold them all already,
It's like,
and so
oh,
all
well,
the people
screw
who were
that.
40K who were interested in them, none of them got any.
Yeah.
yeah.
You're like, okay, well, there's these 2 armies left, but that has nothing to do with armies that I actually like, so I'm not gonna buy those. Like,
Well, I thought it was just going to be like a normal Magic expansion where you could just buy them, but since it was limited, I was like, oh, never mind, screw that. I have no
Yeah,
interest anymore.
like-
I'm out.
Right. Yeah. So did they do a good job with it? I guess it would depend on how you defined that. Like, clearly it was very successful because I think they were like going on eBay for crazy amounts of money.
I
and
feel
stuff.
like, yeah, but they don't make the eBay money from them.
They don't. But it's like that demand was.
But it's like if they
So
do the
good.
thing where they're like, hey, we have something on pre-order and it sells out in 5 minutes, then yeah, it did that sort of thing. So I guess it made a pile of money for them. But as far as like making a successful, crossover with Magic the Gathering, no, I think it was terrible.
I mean, I think it was probably perfectly fun to play. I got to
Oh,
play
yeah,
only half
probably.
a game and we got interrupted for something. So Thomas Grable says that War Machine trailer was fabulous. It so captured the imagination, didn't it? Like, I want that game. I still want that game.
I know, right?
Patty's Parlor. Tactics wasn't terrible after all the bug fixes, just not what we were looking for. Yeah. Michael Gray, Warmacart.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm in.
That would be amazing, especially if your Warjacks were the vehicles, right?
I mean, I feel like, I just blanked on the name of the game. The one where the Warjacks are playing football.
Grind.
Grind. Yeah, even a grind video game.
Yeah,
would
a
have
grind
been
video
lot of
game
fun.
probably would be fun. Yeah, I think that would translate well as well. Thomas, Lich Lord Asphyxius in a dance-off against Coleman Striker. Well, then you get more into what we call the pinball design philosophy, where the game is still the same game, like pinball or whatever, but just the paint job on the side is that aesthetic. It's not actually like the style of that game in any meaningful way.
I still remember, man, back in the early 90s when, Battle Chess came out, and you're just playing chess, but the little dudes get up and walk around. And it's even great because even like the rook,
Yeah.
it's like a castle, but it'll turn into this rock monster and go over and eat somebody, like whatever it gets them, and then turn back into a castle. Like all that stuff was cool.
I love it.
But you're just playing chess. Like that's literally it.
Robert Oswald, hello, welcome. Did you decide on Adepticon for next year? I think we're a go for next year, right? For Adepticon?
And I think that's the plan.
Boys?
For like this upcoming Adepticon?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
been our plan.
So yes.
I was thinking, like, I thought you were talking about the one after that.
No, it's not next year yet. It's not
I mean, I guess
2024 yet. Let's not hurry. Yes, that should be the case. So hopefully I'll see a bunch of you guys at Adepticon, which will be nice because I miss Adepticon. We haven't been there since 2019, I think.
I mean, beat me.
Yeah. It's been a while.
Mandragora, oh wow, you just described 40K Tacticus. Not gonna lie, I have split thoughts on that one without having touched it. Albert Pedro Trias, isn't Tactics still on Steam? Actually, who owns the rights to that game?
White Moon?
Yeah, White Moon
I
Dreams
assume?
made it, so it's probably their game. And yes, it is on Steam, and I want to say the price point's like $15 right now. Which for that price, you're like, okay, it's in that range, like 10 to 15 is kind of the range of chunkier games.
And it has beautiful models. Like,
Oh,
it's a
it
really
is.
pretty looking game.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
It's certainly has the aesthetic for sure.
Heck yeah. Patty also says it would have been better as a Company of Iron level game. Yeah, maybe. Instead of
Even
like
if
a
they
full
had just
War Machine.
made like a version of Clop, except it with like a Warjack, where you're trying to like
No.
get it to derp its way
No.
around through like
No.
there's like goals like
You
get
have
from
to
here to there.
remove aggravation from the game, not lean into it. Cop is
Oh, it could be one of Arcadius's like creations.
okay. If it's a mini game in the game, in a real game,
No, that would be all
No.
it is. It's just like this little tiny mini game that you pay like $1.99 for.
oh god, no. Right there, she does an amazing job of painting her models. Loving the trolls too. You're getting compliments, yeah, Flo.
Thank you.
Mandragora, Dark Vengeance models were push models. They had arms or weapons or the upper half of the body that's slotted into the other half. Glueless if you wanted it to be, which is fine, I guess, if you don't want to paint it, but I would get really nervous not gluing my model together if you plan to paint it. Jeremy, Loot Studios is not very good. They design stuff way too delicately. Yeah, I'm sure it depends on what it is you're getting. Like, we've gotten some cool stuff from there, though. GS Stellar, Necrons vanished like that and are still expensive to this day, speaking to the Magic the Gathering Commanders decks.
I mean, that's what DJ was looking for.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, I'm sure it was fun to play, but for a lot of us who were actually interested in them, it never got to us because
They just didn't make enough stuff. It's
Yeah.
as GW never does. Well, in this case, I guess it was Magic in
Or
charge
did you
of
see
that.
Patty's comment?
I will get to it. The Colossal Wrestling?
No, what's the news for next year's fall?
Oh, okay. Well, we'll get to that. All right. My current 3Ds are Popsicles, Anvil, and Puppets War. That's Paul. So yeah, I I know you've linked to stuff there. Games Workshop artificially makes stuff limited to have a fear of missing out. That's true. Okay, let's go down to Patty. So what's the news for next year's Valhalla? Not that I can go. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh,
You should read that comment.
I was getting to it. I'm just trying not to miss people's comments. Congratulations to you and
Yeah,
Kitty.
congrats.
Yes. So that's kiddo number 3. You think it'll be another boy? Can you handle more boys? Oh, that's so amazing. Congratulations.
So now you can go back up.
Okay. Sorry. Wapple paints Loot Studios all the time. Yeah, okay. So I mean, it really depends on what it is you're looking for. Patty also says, dude, an extreme colossal wrestling video game would be super dope. Maybe, I feel like grind would probably be a little more universal, but yeah, extreme colossal wrestling. I know that had some teeth. Even maybe like their Monster Apocalypse stuff could be a video game. I don't know. Riot Quest.
But it's not the same
would
world.
Okay.
You know, I'd want definitely in the Iron Kingdom.
I do want the Iron Kingdom.
But I do feel like you could do grind as like a sports game, right?
Yeah.
Like almost like a soccer style FIFA, whatever, you know, video game. Just wherever the little grind ball goes to, you tab to your different dudes and try to get them to do stuff. And like, I just think it'd be fun, and especially if it's like co-op, so you could play other people.
Yeah. Okay, that would be fun. That's
So
true.
you could actually like ladder, and you could have all this like, I don't know. I just think it'd be kind of fun. And you don't have to do so much, right? It's just a simple, like you do about a dozen different, what do they call them? Not rings. Is it a ring? Because I remember they had even a really cool no quarter where they're showing how to make them. Arenas, I think that's probably what it was. But yeah, you have a bunch of different arenas, and then like, I don't know. I think it'd be a simple game that would be a lot of fun.
Fair enough. JP got rockets. Battle Chess was fun. The animation sold that game, which I guess is what you were speaking to. Battle Chess.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like, and it's for the pinball game. It's like, yeah, you're just playing chess, but it's so much cooler now.
True fact. G Stellars, I really, really hope they give it another shot for a War Machine game. Love the minis in the world so much. I've remade the factions in Age of Wonders. I'm so desperate. Oh, well, I mean, with some of the push into the RPG, I don't know how many people are necessarily playing that, but I mean, there's definitely options. Like, video games should be, I don't know. It seems like easy money to me, but I don't know the details. JP Got Rockets also suggests that Flo should oh my god. Flo should teach painting classes. I got it backwards too.
I mean, I wouldn't mind doing like painting tutorial videos and things like that. I just don't have a setup for it. But a lot of my painting, I literally do sitting on the couch while something is playing on in the background. And I have like one really bright light in the room that we bounce off the wall because it's so bright. It lights up the whole room. So like I would have to set up a whole set for it and kind of figure out how I would paint it, because really when you're doing a painting tutorial, where you hold the mini and how you hold the mini, you know, it really matters.
It'd be something that we would shoot here, I assume, like at the studio.
Which is fine. Like we could totally do that. It's just figuring it out. Figuring out setup, where you have the cameras, how your lighting is going to be, because that really matters. Your head gets in the way, you know. Your hand gets in the way.
Things.
So it is something I'm interested in. I would just have to figure it out because I've never done it before.
Yeah, and I could set up a real easy rig for you at this point, because the main thing is you need a monitor you can look at, so you can make sure you're holding the model. Like when you're just like, oh yeah, and you paint the side of his head over here, and it's like off the screen.
Yeah, you get used to looking at the monitor instead of looking at the model when you're doing those videos. I think so that way you just automatically know. You just get used to the detachment.
Yeah.
Thomas says, Miranda, I will play a game of Riot Quest with you on my 3D Thunderhead Fortress board. I have Riot Quest models. I really should learn to play that game at some point. I hear it's so easy. Patty's Parlor, unless you move the venue closer to northern Idaho. Huh. Are there really cool venues up there?
Are there really cool venues that are not a million times more expensive?
Good chance that we might be moving it to the spring.
That seems like the most likely outcome at this point.
Yeah. So that might actually affect your plans some. I don't know.
Oh, it's going to be a girl. How exciting. Oh, she's gonna have 2 older brothers. She's gonna be tough. Good. Excellent.
Good for her.
How did that happen? Why would you do something like that to your poor wife? Wow, JP got rockets. Rook says, not a war game, but I've seen a huge uptick in the number of people wanting to learn to play D&D online, roll D20 and r/LFG, since Baldur's Gate 3 came out.
I was going to say Baldur's Gate 3 is probably the reason for that.
Okay, I have not played that at all, but
If you ever want to just jump in and check it out, we have it, so. I mean, not that you have the time for that.
yeah, I was gonna say, like, it always sounds like a good idea, but in reality, I'm just unlikely to. So many games.
Yeah. Although I'm excited, I got the Underworlds video game. Might actually learn how to play the board game now.
If the rules are close enough, and that could be handy. But yeah, I know, and I think if you go from video game to like an RPG, because the workload is a little more lopsided, like a GM generally has more work to do than the players a lot of the time, it's easier to want to just get into that. I don't think it asks the same demand of you as a full-on war game. Because we've been talked about how war games have expanded a lot over the last easily 10 years, right? Like the internet has brought so much more attention to Warhammer, and there are so many other skirmish games out there and war games. Like the market has grown, but it's probably always going to stay somewhat of a niche market because of the level of investment and attention needed. It's not as easy as a video game, and then it's still not as easy as just participating in a role-playing game, usually. Like, you can obviously be as invested as you want in a role-playing game, but to just play it all, you really don't have to be that invested. So, I don't know. And I guess you could kind of say that same argument for a lot of war games. You're just going to have a horrible experience if you do it that way. So, yeah. Jeremy, how about they just concentrate on making a good, solid tabletop game and not worry about video games since they can't even manage that? Okay, well, Jeremy, here's the thing.
I do agree with him, by the way.
Well, and that's all well and good, but I'm just talking about selling an IP out to another video game company,
Exactly.
not having oversight on it. So
I think they should have nothing to do with it, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a fire and forget, sell the license or lease the license or however that works, and then just go back to your game. Like,
What is it John Carpenter says now? Like, he just quit making movies and just became a musician. And he talks about, like, oh, every time they remake one of his movies, he says, people ask him, well, what do you think about it? He's like, oh, it's wonderful. I just put out my hand and a check just floats down into it. It's like, I don't care anymore. I play rock music. So, yeah, that should be the approach they take. Like, they shouldn't have their hands in making their own video game. They should definitely focus on being a successful miniature game company.
yes, they certainly should.
One of the ways you do that is by getting your IP out there so that people know about it.
Yeah.
Well, and a lot of that's the convention scene, and a lot of that would be, again, those beacons at game stores,
So-
whatever would have been press gangers.
I mean, I guess that's kind of the topic of the show, though, right? And so it's like the video games, movies, Saturday morning cartoon, whatever you want to have, right? Like those all help, but it does seem like, at least for Warhammer, and I suspect for any of the miniature games, that at least half of your business comes from people enjoying your game and getting their friends to play. And I think that in the height of Mark II, I think Privateer Press was excellent at doing that. Like, everyone that played was an avid fan. You know what I mean? Like, they were either driven away by like the rule set and didn't want to play it at all, or they were a big fan of it and would get their friends to play. Like, there's a lot of word of mouth that brought in like such a huge player base in Mark II.
yeah, that's fair.
And I think in Mark III, they made some changes, but not enough. Mm-hmm. That like a lot of people were like, wow, we were really hoping you would fix like major glaring things in the game. And instead they didn't, and they just added things like pre-measuring and a few other stuff. And the idea was, it makes it, more beginner-friendly, more noob-friendly, more accessible. Mm-hmm. But the problem was, like, a lot of the people that played were like, yeah, this is a good time to bow out. And then they weren't bringing their friends in anymore.
Right.
That was the real loss, right? Is that 8%, 49%? What does it say on your...
48%.
48% of people that bring it in. Whenever you cut that in half, then you're really suddenly like drain the number of new players coming in.
Yeah, no, it's true. So, Mandragora says, oh, does anyone have an Amazon affiliate for water washable resin? I need to order some. And if anyone has a code that'll get support for them at no extra cost to me, I'd go for it.
I mean, we have one.
I have an Amazon affiliate link, but I don't know that I have the resin on there. I haven't messed with it in a
Oh,
while.
it doesn't matter if they just follow your link to Amazon, then then you benefit from it. I think that's what he's saying.
Is that in my... I actually have the link in the description of this video. How about that?
You didn't even know for sure.
Well, so on YouTube, when you set up live streams, it lets you just reuse the same settings over and over. So a lot of the verbiage just stays the same from one to one. So you
Like
get
even
all your
the
fine
title
print.
when you forget to change.
No,
Or
I
forget to
blank
change
out
it.
the title so that because we have time to decide what the new one is. It just wasn't filled in today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it wasn't as bad.
No, it wasn't like the last title or
So
something.
I uploaded a thumbnail late last night, but I didn't think to add a title to it.
We're very good at social media. Let's see, you'll raise a new generation of Wargamer girls. That's right, Thomas. And Patty will do a good job. Make voodoo dolls of their enemies, training Khador war dogs. I miss my Khador war dog.
Yeah.
Jeremy, with the move to spring, will there not be a 2024 Valhalla? Details on that, more to come. We're kind of working out how logistically feasible that would be.
Oh, the cabin is so expensive in October.
Well, yeah, so there's a whole thing, yeah. So the cabin, and they're not unreasonable, like, to work with us and to talk to us and stuff. It's just Timber Moose became, like, the most popular place to get married in October specifically. And so competing with people who have, wedding money, not so good. So, let's see. JP Got Rockets. Nerd media has become more visible, so more people are getting exposed to our deviant ways. That's true,
Yeah, I think
but
that's true.
I don't know that it's always positive because, as you expand your audience, you get a lot of new ideas and views, and that can be fine. It's just you gotta watch out for people who want to just like fundamentally change and destroy everything about your hobby that you originally liked. So just as long as the locusts can be like managed, then yes,
It's like, oh, what a cool hobby you have there. You should change it to accommodate me. It's like,
Just so I can immediately wander off. I was never going to support you anyway.
Yeah.
That is the fundamental problem there. And so I do think there's a little bit of concerns of Wargames falling into that. I mean, remember like the hot, solid month that Ugly Sisters of Battle were sold by GW? You don't find them anymore. They look normal and pretty again now because no one freaking cared or bought them. But I feel like they caved to pressure to have like, hey, you need disfigured sisters and like alternative
how
models.
did Rich Evans put it? Is like alternatively handsome.
Yeah. And I mean, clearly that didn't work because I think even the people demanding it are like, well, yeah, but I mean, I'm not going to buy them. They're ugly,
I don't play Sisters of Battle.
Yeah.
Like, then shut up about them.
Well, that's the thing. And the internet makes it really easy to run your mouth about everything. So, oh my God, Patty's screaming, where's my female space marines? Tommy, the lore doesn't matter. Screw you. Sisters of Silence aren't good enough.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, Sisters of Silence kind of are that.
Yeah, but I don't know what they are, so I'm mad.
What? Girls can't normally survive the gene seed process. It's not my fault.
Wow.
It's just biology.
Yes, indeed. Paul says a bunch of video games will be launching their Christmas events in a couple of weeks. I'll have far less printing and priming time. Yeah, no kidding. Although I wonder how many people give 3D printed gifts to each other nowadays.
I mean, that's what I'm about to do.
Yeah, no, I mean, in a way, it's kind of potentially more thoughtful, right? Because you find like the right thing for someone, or you customize something for someone.
But, I mean, I've been doing custom gifts for a long time now. Normally, I paint ornaments and stuff. But you get to a point where your tree can't hold any more ornaments.
Uh-oh, Mandragora clicked your link.
I'm faced with hot fuzz. Well, this is interesting. That's one of the best movies ever made.
I mean, you should just buy it, obviously.
Yeah, clearly. It's so good if you
great
don't already
movie.
have it. Hot Fuzz is in my top 5 comedies of all time. I love it so
So is it
much.
the other guys, Hot Fuzz and
Black Dynamite
Black Dynamite,
and the other guys,
and Tropic Thunder?
Tropic Thunder.
All
They're
right,
just
what's the fifth one? Because
Well,
that's what, 4?
okay. Hold on. So it's Hot Fuzz, the other guys, Tropic Thunder,
Black Dynamite.
Black Dynamite. I don't know. I'll think
Can
about
you
it.
count Krampus as a comedy?
No, Krampus is a great Christmas
She's
movie.
all that. I don't know. It's like it's got to be something way out of left field.
Yeah. No. Ugh, they're so good. They're so good. Anyway, Patty, dudes, I've been loving the Sunku Labs ABS resin, really good stuff. Sunlu Labs? Huh. Haven't messed with it. Honestly, we still don't have a resin printer. We just utilize DJ when those needs come up because
Yeah,
he knows.
We have a resin printer. His name is DJ.
It's DJ,
He prints
yeah.
resin.
Well, it's so nice to just know someone who knows what they're doing as opposed to okay, well, here's this new, we have so many
I've learned
things
all
we've
the
learned.
fiddly crap with FDM. I don't want to start over again with the other one. I just want someone else to. I just want to send them STLs and then they show up with finished things.
I know, it's magic every time.
Anytime I run into somebody who's skilled and knows how to do something, I just want to bask in that and enjoy that I don't have to be the one learning it.
Paul says, I use any cubic water washable plus resin. The plus seems a little less brittle than the older stuff. Yeah, see, then you've got to be really more familiar with all the chemicals. Ugh. Patty's Parlor. There are some really good venues up here, I'm sure. Maybe I'll look into it and get back to you. I'd love to be able to drive down the streets to Valhalla. Oh, could you imagine? JP got rockets for my 3D print bros. They're TGM7 water washable and amazing flexibility. I guess if that's what you need. DW has changed the lore. Why can't they accommodate me? Yeah, exactly. I want the female space marines, that I have no investure in the hobby doesn't matter. Yeah, exactly. And so those are the things that game companies need to watch out for because they are screeching loud, horrible harpies
I'm glad we went the same place.
in the game sphere and should be summarily ignored. Jeremy, what is Black Dynamite?
You should look up a trailer.
I'm not putting a trailer on this channel. You can just look it up on YouTube. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
it might be a red band trailer.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
yeah.
But it's amazing.
And it is obviously Deathstalker as the 5th comedy. Oh my gosh. Well, you
It's not a
boys need to
comedy,
have
it's
your
just
Deathstalker
awesome.
5 discussion. Is it 5? Is that the one you're making?
It might be 5. It's whatever the new one is that we're definitely making.
We just have to get past this short film. We're most of the way through it. Most of the
Oh.
way.
Thousands
Next
of
time it
dollars
will snow.
through.
Jerry Tabaka. No, video games don't help people discover war games. Video players will play video games, and war gamers will war game. People who do both will do both. Having the option will not lead to the crossover. Oh, I think that's probably a little too black and white.
Well, I think a lot of people are interested in war games, but just haven't run into them.
Yeah.
Because the poll that we have does have 9% of people discovered Games Workshop through video games.
Yeah, I mean, some people still have actually done that, and
You just never heard of it is all. Not that you're
uninterested.
Yeah, not that you normally wouldn't, but now that you've played a video game, now you're going to go play reluctantly this miniature game. It's just usually people are introduced that way. They're like, oh, this world is really cool.
Right.
I still remember watching Total Biscuit play Space Marine.
Space Marine. Yeah.
And it's just so many people that were unfamiliar with it, but would watch him. We're just what is this game? And he's going crazy. He was, I think during that video, he's answering people's questions and explaining to people what a Space Marine is and
Yeah.
what, it's no, this isn't a gun. It's almost like just an automatic grenade launcher,
I think Dark Tide does that a little. I mean,
for sure.
running around in those environments, and if you are playing Dark Tide, just remember there's a new event out, the Carnival, and it's fun and crazy and chaotic, and I got to play again, and it was fun. I'm terrible at it. I'm going to get better.
I did great. I saved everyone.
You did great. You saved everyone. I'm leaning
giant
into my
chaos
sniper specialties. I can stealth now, which is great. So a big monster comes running at me because I've aggroed it like crazy, and I just vanish in front of it, and he just wanders off while I shoot him in the head. It's so amazing. But yes, Darktide is another one. I think like if you play Warhammer or play war games and also play video games, yeah, there will be that crossover. My argument about the video games is that because video games is a much broader, wider audience, and because specifically in the case of GW games, Warhammer stuff, that IP has been put out into the ether so long that it's sort of part of the tapestry of pop culture we live within. So people will have played a Warhammer video game, maybe not ever knowing that a tabletop game exists. However, if they stumble upon one later in the future, there's an automatic familiarity which makes them far more likely to purchase that product over a different war game.
I mean, it's so much in the ether that, I mean, God, what was it like when Trump was president? Like, how many people saw the God Emperor meme of Trump?
Yeah.
Like,
and there's that crazy parade.
And had no idea
Yes.
that was a part of anything. But they're familiar with that image, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, that's from something, right? But it's like, it just permeates into so many like normie spheres that people, that huge crazy parade in, I think, Italy.
Was it Italy?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it was
And
not
just
in
like,
America.
How many normies are just walking down the streets of this parade going, what the hell am I looking at?
Yeah, what's going on?
And they had like dancing Sisters of Battle and dancing Ultramarines and a giant.
They had an
God
impressive
Emperor
array of
Trump,
costumes, for sure.
It was crazy.
Actually, yeah.
But it's so, I don't know. Again, it goes back when I was a kid, I thought everyone in England knew what Games Workshop was. They knew what Warhammer was because that's where it came from. But then you see like Henry Cavill like explain it on mention that that's what he does on like a British talk show or something, and everyone around him's like, what is this? What are you talking about?
Yeah, Tom Holland's the only one who was like, oh, that sounds fun. I want to play. Like, unfortunately, every single girl I've heard so far, they're just like, oh. I'm like, okay, cool.
What's his name? What's that pop singer dude?
Ed Sheeran.
Ed Sheeran, yeah.
Yeah, he
Ed Sheeran
plays 40K,
actually. Yeah.
which was fun, right? It's like, whatever.
Raised him in my estimation a little.
Cool. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, he always seemed kind of nerdy, so I'm down.
Yeah. So British looking. Mandragora says, please do not get me started on lore and changing it. I'll go to war and blow out my voice again. It's okay, Mandragora. You're in a safe space.
Yeah. You don't have to do that here. We've got your back.
I got you. And I mean, lore can change or whatever, but it's like, indeed, I just hate artistic decisions being like driven by, societal pressure or political pressure, or any of those kinds of pressures. Like, if something needs to change artistically, it should have a genuinely artistic reason to do so. And
all of us Doctor Who fans
never
are very
because it's
much agreeing
current
with you
year.
at the moment.
If the reason you change something is because it's current year, then it's probably a bad idea.
Or
Just don't
it's
do
about time, or whatever stupid thing you insert, then it's like, okay, well, you haven't thought about it, which means it's a very empty gesture.
Especially with Warhammer.
Yeah.
Because it's like, well, it's current year, and it's like, yeah, it's nowhere near the year 40,000.
Yeah,
you still have time. You don't got to change anything.
Tons of time. Exactly. Oh, gosh. Ignorance is destructive. Everyone knows Risk. Not everyone knows Risk 2210, and Risk 2210 is definitely a gateway into full sci-fi mech games. My goodness, Mandragora. Paul, yeah, my friend Michael discovered Warhammer via Dawn of War 2. He found out you could buy actual minis of the things also. Yeah, there you go. JP Gotrock is, the people making the argument don't understand permanency in an established setting and use every tiny irregularity or clarification to try and hang their argument on. Oh yeah, I mean, that's just how you persuade, right? Mandragora, oh, I miss Total Biscuit. He was such a cool guy and his moderate.
He seemed like such a positive guy.
He did. He really did.
It is a tragedy.
Like, I'm glad he was at least appreciated as much as he was, like, in the gaming sphere.
Yeah.
His moderating influence on the rest of the fandom is sorely missed. I know. Plunderden, I love Deathstalker 2. Best B movie I've ever seen. I'm laughing to myself just thinking about it.
Deathstalker 2 is amazing.
So Deathstalker RPG and mini skirmish game, when?
As soon as we can secure the rights.
Yeah, like I wonder what the rights go for. I think we could make some phone calls.
I keep forgetting the girl's name, but I adore her.
The actress in the first.
Yes. I always forget her name, but she's I don't know. But she's great. She's hilarious.
Wow.
Her terrible acting is hilarious and endearing.
Mandragora says, I saw that parade somewhere in South America. That was insane. Absolutely such a surreal moment of fandom coming into reality.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. It's like a real life experience of what like AI art is like or something, where you're like, what are you mashing up right now? What is going on? Like if I stumbled across that anywhere I was in the world, right? I would not think I was in real life.
Right.
Like
I just saw a video of it and I was like, this isn't real.
Yeah.
Like, what is this?
Yeah.
Like, no, it's full on real.
It's real. There's a lot of money and effort and time and people put into it, and you're like, why don't I get to know these people?
I know, right?
Oh gosh. It's Jerry DeBach. Actors in advertising will make a game more popular than any crossover video game.
I agree. I think I agree with
Probably.
that.
Like Henry Cavill's going to drive a lot more people to Warhammer.
Oh, dude, whenever he does the Warhammer like TV series,
Yeah.
oh, that'll be huge. Tons
Yeah.
of people will come in.
Such a boon to GW, right? And that definitely is helpful. But it also depends on your actors and advertising. Because I know, like with War Machine, they had
Yeah,
some
I don't
actors
want
do stuff.
what's her name?
Rachel
The Marvels.
Oh, Brie Larson.
Yeah, I don't want Brie Larson pushing Warhammer. We don't need that.
Let's say no. The other one was Rachel Zegler.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know. I
Snow
feel
White
like
lady. She's actually blacklisted at this point now.
I feel like she
wow.
wouldn't be an unreasonable member of the ecclesiarchy. You know?
If cast correctly, maybe it could work out well, right? She's just like this horrible inquisitor that everyone's like
Just completely
avoids.
unreasonable. Everyone hates. Like, if she leaned into it, it would probably re-endear people to her.
Probably fair.
Yeah, fair enough.
You did focus on the things, right?
It should be about the same focus point, but if not, we'll just poke it.
Double check.
Double check it. Sorry, I'm having to do all the things.
All the things.
It seemed pretty focused. All right, it's moving target.
Looks pretty in focus, I think.
I think so, yeah. Okay, done.
I was just
Got to make sure those trolls focus. They get distracted real easy.
Exactly. Mandragora, it's a lot harder to have cross-pollination now, especially with comic shops and game arcades and lots of outside spaces shutting down in favor of online where ads reinforce existing patterns, not
Yeah.
new. That's true, and there's a lot of manipulation on those sorts of ads, and it's not as meritocratic as would be nice. So yeah, it's like big guys stay big, and small companies really, really struggle to get any sort of market share.
By the way, Jeremy, get to work.
Yeah. Concentrate on work, for sure. Patty, remember that meme where the headline was like, can you believe there's a Dawn of War board game? Lol. I don't, but that is funny. The rights are currently in the hands of someone doing Deathstalker 5 comic, I think. Fine.
That's all right.
Just back to the crow, I guess.
They'll just have to share those rights. It's a comic.
Well, that's true, because the rights would be theoretically exclusive for comic and print. Let's see, right there's for STLs, I found I love Piper Makers for Tau better than GW stuff. Avatars of War is amazing for Warhammer Fantasy Battle, Orcs and Goblins. Puppets War does some great space orcs, including some theme orcs. Dude, some of those companies, I cannot believe how close they get on the IP. Like, Paul was showing me straight up Predators. Just Predators, but they're doing this in space, or they've got this kind of gear. Here's one more primal, but they're Predators. One of them's just RoboCop. It's literally RoboCop. He's just
great.
Robo-Man or something. You're like,
I mean,
what are you
that's kind of
doing?
what the Adeptus Arbites are, to be fair.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
They're like Judge Dredd RoboCops.
I mean, that's kind of what they do for Zombicide. They give them all different names, but they definitely pull from all different IPs for all the...
I mean, to be fair, we were
Survivors.
going to get some straight up Ghostbuster
Yeah.
Zombicide guys.
Yeah, no kidding.
Still
But I
makes
think
me
the
sad.
Ghostbuster was actually the IP they got for it.
Yeah, it
and
was
like for
straight up
Danny
Ghostbusters.
Trejo, originally they didn't have him as Danny Trejo, but then they came out with the Danny Trejo model.
Oh,
And
is it
had-
different?
yeah, it's
So-
it's slightly different.
So do they have to battle to the death to see who the real Danny Trejo is?
Oh, it's like his
Is that like a
doppelganger, the
special
updated
rule?
Well, no,
card.
they're survivors, so I mean, you can play as either one. I have the actual Danny Trejo model, and it's It even has like his signature when you get the box and stuff like that.
So is one of them Danny Trejo and the other one is Machete?
I don't know.
actually
I
just
don't
different.
remember what the other one was called.
That's like having a Lucy Lawless miniature and a Xena miniature in the same game.
Exactly. Monique Gabriel, I believe. Let's see. Jerry DeBaca, I've not played any video game anyone here has mentioned all night. No crossover here. Yeah, I mean, I believe that applies to you, Jerry, for sure. Robin Williams plays Sisters. Wonder what became of his army. I don't know. I wonder if he just had like a friend who picked it up or if it got donated to a game store or something like that. And Robin Williams seemed high on the charitable thing, so it might have been donated.
I know he played Eldar too.
Yeah,
He was a big Eldar player.
that was my understanding of it.
You know he's a good guy when he names his daughter Zelda.
I know.
Yeah.
Mandragora, it's just weird to be a niche hobbyist suddenly seeing your thing mainstream. It's like when I saw a Strong Bad
Oh, yeah.
t-shirt. Or
Strong
an
Sad
Strong
is one of
Sad.
my iterations.
Oh, okay. Or an Iron Mouse keychain. We're used to being obscure. Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of
remember
enjoy
seeing-
seeing it out there.
Yeah.
Like
Personally.
forever ago, I remember I was way into music, and I remember just being like a little annoyed when I just saw like a Nine Inch Nails sticker on some like football player guy's like Mustang, and I was just like, that's not for you. I don't know. That's weird. Like
That's
I
weirdly
guess that's-
possessive.
No, it is weird too, right? Because it's like, well, because I played football too, right? But it was like, I don't know. I was more a musician and into that kind of stuff. This other
You
dude's
felt
just like,
but you felt weirdly protective, I guess, of it.
yeah, in a way.
And it's like, what harm is even happening?
Oh no, I mean, because that's the other side. Is you're like, I'm glad. Like it's nice that this musician I like is like,
Clearly
making
very
a lot of money
successful,
and
yeah.
successful. But it's just kind of, it feels like it's a weird. It's just weird, right? And that's what I think he's saying. Is
Yeah.
Like, it's just weird when you see that. You're like, oh, that's not where this belongs. What are you doing over here?
Yeah, well,
Nine Inch
that's
Nails
a
sticker.
thing.
I think the only time that would be annoying is if it was very obvious to me that it was like fake, I guess.
Yeah, well, I mean, was also a skater in the '90s, and
Right,
posers
there was
were
the
very
whole
much a
poser thing,
So-
right? And so it's like, do you really like them? But even then, like, I mean, you know how little I care about most people's like interests. And like, for the most part, very little bothers me on any of that. But it's like, I guess if they were just somehow like harmful to what I liked about it, I guess. But
By the way, I think Thomas Grable's Balin.
oh, bye,
late.
Thomas. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Appreciate it. Patty's Parlor, that movie review rag posted a picture of Ziegler surrounded by CG dwarves. I wonder how real that was. Yeah, I've heard a lot
they are
about
switching
pivoting.
It is. They're switching it. Like I think Disney reacted to a lot of the negative responses. Now there's a slight possibility that those guys were always just stand-ins, and they had
Yeah.
always planned on it. But the dwarves don't look great.
No,
they look
no.
quickly
Like if they were
made.
stand-ins for it, they probably would have gone for something that was a little bit closer. Like, come
Yeah,
on.
the dwarves look like they really were just like, quick, get something together.
Yeah, there's definitely rushed vibe from them. So I don't know. Like Disney's been tanking all year, and that's fine. Make room for other movies. Make room for other IPs.
God,
we actually
please
saw a
stop
movie
putting your
this week.
fingers in things you don't and they don't belong in. Please
I mean, they had a
leave
good
Doctor
run.
Who alone.
Yeah, they had quite a long run, I suppose.
I'm fine with New Blood, frankly.
I'm pretty angry. Sorry.
I can see. But yeah, we did see a movie this week, a little indie film, because the
Oh, it was
movies
great.
that have been in theaters have all been kind of like obscure. So we saw a Nicolas Cage movie called Dream Scenario, and I actually would recommend it. It's an A24 flick, so if you know what that means, you know. But it was genuinely thought-provoking and
Yeah.
really interesting, and spoke a lot to like cultural phenomenon now but not in like a preachy way. I really
No,
appreciated it.
It like verges on the edge of science fiction.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating. Like it's a genuinely interesting movie. I would absolutely endorse anyone go see it.
Definitely recommend Dream Scenario with Nicolas Cage if you get the chance.
I guess to give a little bit away so people even just know what it is we're talking about. The whole premise is that there's Nicolas Cage just sort of plays this sort of kind of
Average dude.
average. You know, it's like if you're familiar with tradecraft, it's like he plays essentially a gray man. You know, just the ultimate gray man. You wouldn't even recognize him on the street. He just goes by. But for some reason, he starts showing up in everyone's dreams. Like
Yes.
not everyone, but like at
But
least
enormous
half
amount
of the
of people.
population of the world.
Yeah. Enough so that it's commented on.
Yeah, and it's like even people who've never met him, he's just in their dreams, and it's just this kind of interesting phenomenon that goes from there. But it's a solid movie.
It really is. Like it's well told. He does a good job. So I'd recommend that one if you're looking for not a big dumb action film, but just something a little more thoughtful. Mandragora. I remember when Ronda Rousey told a story of, I think, Vin Diesel inviting her to his WoW guild for a raid. I also remember an episode where the Big Sow played D&D. Very cool. The Big Sow? Huh. Speaking of, the D&D movie this year was lovely, if you haven't seen it.
Scroll up a little bit.
Let's see. Patty, Jerry, Zelda auctioned a few of them off. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I wish I had known. I would love some penitent engines to modify.
Well, I still remember Mia Kunis is actually apparently a really good mage
Yeah,
in
yeah.
Warcraft. Like she's very competitive.
Mandragora. It's not even about big versus small. I bought a 3D printer. Now I get ads for more 3D printers, though I just need one. I'm not getting ads for Terry Godkind, like Miranda's shopping list. Oh yeah, my Terry Goodkind books. I like the Sword of Truth series. Let's see, Thomas. It's getting late. Saying bye to him. Mandragora. Danny Trejo is one. The Danny Trejo is one Danny Trejo survivor. The next is a zombified survivor, and the third is Teo Minion, if I recall correctly.
They came out with a Danny Trejo before they ever came out with Danny Trejo as a survivor, though. Like it was named something else. Because they do have a zombified Danny Trejo, but that came with that set.
Gotcha. JP got rockets. When the jocks started putting skate product stickers on their stuff, wearing Limpies, Vans, and Doc Martens, gotta keep skate punk pure.
That's right. JP knows.
Okay. Okay, you boys have fun with that. Patty, yeah. She still has a bunch of money that went to children's benefits. Okay. Mandragora, what harm is there? Okay, I'm going to learn. Us gamers were always nerds and geeks and got bullied and mocked for our stuff. True fact. Now the meth heads are into it.
Meatheads.
Oh, meatheads. Sorry.
Maybe
I was thinking of
meth
Albuquerque too much. They can't afford Warhammer and meth. Sorry, the meatheads are into it and often taking it from us, and we hate having to convive with them, like compete with them, or
Convene with them? I don't know.
I don't know. You're always gonna get tourists, and people come and people go, and yes, it's a part of your obscure nerd corner. But part of living life is having to deal with those social situations. So I still think it's probably a net positive.
I was just annoyed. God, I think the whole thing is kind of passed over. But I remember like 5 to 10 years ago, when it was a big thing where like suddenly gamer girls were everywhere, and they're just like, "We've always been here," and I was like, "I've been here since the '80s. You haven't. Like you have absolutely not been here.
You have no cred." Okay. I get that to an extent, but it really depends on like what that person coming in is also expecting. Because if they're friendly and they're open and they just want to learn, like you should be nice.
No, I'm all
If they
in
come
for
in
that.
and they're like, "Yeah, I've always been here since 10 minutes ago," then call them out because that's bullshit, right? Like, fine.
It's like, no, you haven't.
Yeah. And
Especially when it's just like, oh, well, it's always been a boys' club. You never wanted us. It's like, nope, not true. Usually we're playing D&D because we're getting ridiculed and girls won't talk to us.
yeah, how'd that go with your White Dwarf magazine in school?
Oh, I know.
So I think there's back and forth there, but as someone who plays your game, like there's no point in being hostile to new people either. You just want to make sure you balance it, because like there should be no BS on either side of that argument.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh gosh. Patty's Parlor. Disney was just awarded a defense contract due to their record of box office bombs. All right. I mean, it's not
Sick
like Disney
burn.
could have hired little people. I mean, that certainly is not an interest group that could use some sort of representation. Thanks, Dinklage. Well, you see, there you
I
go.
know,
Like,
right?
It's just
And you are hearing from other little
Household
people who are
name
actually
because he
talking
literally
about
played
it.
a dwarf on a very popular TV show.
well, it's
And they're all very angry with him.
it's really common. Like you really see that a lot with like really, really gorgeous actresses when they sort of like pass 35 or something like that. And especially if their career was built on being like just completely gorgeous and huge sex symbol and all of that. And then they turn around and they're like, well, I don't think that should be the way people get hired for movies anymore. And you're like,
It's called pulling the ladder up behind you.
there you go. And so, yeah, like that kind of stuff is dumb. And that's exactly what seems to be happening here too.
And we all know
Sick
it.
burn, Pat. Let's see. I've seen the trailer of that Nick Cage movie. It did look interesting. It genuinely is. Like,
I recently started getting trailers for it, so yeah.
okay. Must have sent it to you in a dream. Jeremy, Nick Cage just did a Western hunting buffaloes, and also I want to watch that, but I don't want to pay $25 to watch it. Hey, man, prices are going to start coming back up if you want good entertainment anymore. I mean, I think the independent sphere is where you're going to see any original stories anymore, and independent movies can't make stuff as cheaply as big studios because they don't care. Studios don't care about losing money, whereas independents can't afford to. So it's kind of like
Listen to us. Or them, at least. They know what they're talking about.
I was going to say, I don't know, man, because even A24 is like reevaluating making movies like Beau is Afraid. Like that lost them a lot of money.
Did it? Yeah, well, see, and that's the thing. Like, if you're a small studio, you can't afford to have all those bombs. If you're one of the big megacorps, like, they're getting subsidized from so many other places, it doesn't matter. But as far as, like, where we start to get our entertainment in the future, it's been so artificially cheapened with streaming, unfortunately, and, it's a saturated market. Like, what is the last thing people watched on Netflix? Like, I imagine there's tons of shows on Netflix that like less than 100 people watch.
I guess to kind of almost bring it back around to the main topic, in a lot of ways it's similar to that, right? Whereas if you've sat down and you've painted like 4,000 points of whatever army you play, you're so much more invested in that because you have all that physical media, quote unquote, something that you've had a hand in, and so it actually like anchors you to this kind of story, this world, this whatever. Whereas, like the way streaming does, or especially a lot of Steam games or whatever, they come and go so quickly that you almost don't even remember having played them. Whereas if you've painted 4,000 points of an army and played, Warhammer for like a couple of years, you never forget.
No.
You'll always remember having done it and everything because you put so much of your own effort into it.
Right. It's
And so
built into your life now.
Yeah, and so I mean, like that's part of when you look at like kind of the streaming world of media right now. If you're, because I don't know, I put Steam into the streaming world as well.
Steam, yeah. I mean,
it's no different than Netflix. It's like it's a what is it, like a TVOD system essentially. It's a transaction game on demand instead of transaction video on demand, but it's still on demand, and you pay for it and you still never own it. And so it's just sort of in this library that you ultimately are renting, right? I mean, when Steam goes out of business, none of that will belong to you. But you also kind of approach it that way, I think, where it's like, it's like, yeah, easy come, easy go, I guess. And so a lot of things are like that.
yeah.
And it's why I think a lot of things like tabletop wargaming don't fall into that, because people do put so much of themselves into it, and you actually have something in the end, right? I mean, a lot of the War Machine players right now that have played for 10 years, they're like, well, 4th edition, or, Mark IV is coming out, and it's saying I can't use a lot of stuff. Yeah, but you can do whatever you want. You got that little miniature in your hand.
True.
Play 3rd edition, play 2nd edition,
And
play
they are.
D&D,
and
just
they
using
even
those
brought,
dudes.
they
play
actually
whatever,
brought in
right?
legacy rules. The company, in response, I think, to a
for
lot
sure.
of that, helped to bridge that.
And so, I don't know. So it seems like those things, in terms of entertainment and what you're spending your time doing and investing your time in, as a form of entertainment, they're not unrelated,
True. Yeah. Mandragora, 2 words, Brie Larson. She should not be stronger than the Hulk, and she shouldn't be treated like a Mary Sue when her main purpose is a rogue plot point. P.S. Southern girls rock.
Southern girls do rock.
Do they?
Yes,
All right.
they do.
They're okay, I guess. Yeah. Yeah, I've definitely been seeing more videos of girls actually coming out and making little vlogs about, like, what's going on with these female characters? They're not representing me. Like, who are you talking to?
They're like, you don't represent me. What are you talking about? Where's more of that Jason Momoa? Like, I want to see that guy on screen. Where's Chris Hemsworth? Where's he on screen? Like,
And Henry Cavill.
oh, but we put all these girls on screen for you. They're like, why the hell do I want to see girls on screen? And it is, right? Because, I mean, that's what is it? The Marvels is made for, oh, well, it's more female representation. We want, to bring in more women into the audience. And
Maybe
it's like,
kids,
and then
I
they get
guess.
told, well, the box office didn't do well. It's because guys weren't coming out for it. And it's like, well, no, guys, even in the Marvels, guys still made up, I think, 65% of the
Yeah.
viewer base. So it's like, actually, who didn't come out for it?
No, you're
it's
never.
Like, put Steve Rogers in there with his shirt off, and you'll have, like, more of that other demographic coming in.
Like the movie about firefighters and kittens or something.
Well,
like,
no, it's why we always joked about making a video about how to get girls to play, visit game stores more.
Yeah.
And it was just like a bunch of shirtless firefighters holding puppies.
There you go.
Like hanging out in the game
hang
store.
out at the game store. I would take some Catachan cosplay as well.
What are you talking about? You saw those guys in Vegas.
I did. They were lovely.
It's a great picture.
Thank you. Let's see. JP got rockets. Streaming ticket prices are always too high. Afternoon matinee are way to go. Support your local cinema. Amen, JP
agree,
got rockets. I
100%.
think the cinema is actually super, super important. Should probably start wrapping it up here soon. Jerry DeBaca, what about Blood Bowl Season 2 video game crossover? Would that work?
A crossover with what? I mean, because
Well, I'm
Blood Bowl's
thinking-
already like a Games Workshop game.
Right. So I don't know if like people who have Blood Bowl and don't want to bother taking the game out would just play the video game, or if the video game would make you want to play the physical game. I mean, board games are really popular, so
think it
I
does
feel like that
both.
crossover is a little stronger.
Because I know we were talking about, like, my friend Ryan, since he lives in New York or LA, back and forth wherever he's working, like, we had actually talked about doing an actual, like rounding up a bunch of people to play the video game. But but we're doing that because when he and I were roommates, we actually played the miniature game back in the 90s.
Yeah.
And so it's like,
And the
you
video
play
game
it
is-
just because you can't play it, like, across from each other.
Right. Well, and the video game helps to make up for that distance of someone you physically know.
Oh, and it helps rekindle that, a love you
Something
have
fun.
for it.
Yeah.
And so even if you're doing that, you'll probably find yourself like dusting off your old miniatures and going down to the game store, right?
To my Netflix question earlier, Patty said, oof, I just watched all of the new Scott Pilgrim series. I guess there's a new Scott Pilgrim series.
Yeah, there
Oh,
is.
like an actual
I
TV
haven't
series?
watched it, but
Yeah.
Man, once it's a
cartoon.
series, it's hard for me to watch it.
We're so
cartoon.
bad at TV. Oh, okay, that makes sense. Mandragora, does Tulsa King count as Netflix or just streaming? I can't believe MTV made it. Huh.
Did MTV actually produce it? Is that real?
What is Tulsa King? What are you talking
It's Rocky, Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah.
It's another series. He's basically like a kind of a gangster type character who just got out of prison, and he basically is in Tulsa and building up like his kind of a crime empire again. Like, I hear it's really good. I've actually heard nothing but good stuff about it.
about? Okay, fair enough. One Shot Wonder says, I really like the One Piece live action. I have heard positive things on
that
that.
is actually really well
Yeah.
done.
Yeah, so cool. Patty, the last episode made it worthwhile. Good soundtrack, decent animation for the most part. The Lucas Lee episode was a little too choppy, but they aimed for the stars with it. Mandragora, ironically, has also helped sell a lot of toys. I can't play Mega Man 1 through 5 anymore, and if I did, it wouldn't hold up versus current games, but Jada Toys is a great new line of toys for my shelf. Okay, yeah, like the
Yeah.
old video game characters.
I still keep trying to figure out like some sort of video we can make so I can justify getting a bunch of Joy Toy Marines.
It's still sad that they canceled Young Justice just because it wasn't selling enough toys, though.
Fair enough. Kitty and I will be watching The Shift this weekend from Angel Studios at our little discount theater. Yay!
Oh, that's cool.
That'll be fun.
Yeah, I'd seen a trailer of that just recently. Like,
The
I guess
Shift?
it's getting ready to come out in theaters. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we both saw the trailer to it.
Yes, that seems vaguely familiar. We watched a lot of movie trailers. Whenever we're deciding what we're going to see at the theater, like the unknown movies, we're like, we'll watch a trailer. And like, 20 to 30 seconds into the trailer, if it looks interesting, we stop it so we don't see the rest of it. But
Yeah. Oh, we did that on Dream Scenario.
yeah, we're
After,
like, that looks good enough.
several shots, I was like, well, stop that. There's a good chance we're just going to see it. We're like, yeah, let's go see that. Okay.
It was no regrets.
I like knowing as little as possible about a movie.
It was a lot
It's just
better
more
than
fun.
that other weird movie we saw with Meg Ryan and Dave Duchovny.
Oh, yeah.
So it's an empty movie for sure.
It was fine. It was fine. It was nothing. It's her directorial debut.
Well, I mean, I'm sure it was directed just
And
fine.
it's super weird watching Fox Mulder be old.
Yeah.
I don't know that I like it.
Final comment here. The Goatman 92. I wish they'd bring back Justice League. But it wouldn't be the same without Kevin Conroy. Rest in peace, Kevin Conroy. And to end everyone on a sad note, I also have a notification here that Henry Kissinger died today at 100.
Oh,
I mean, he made it to 100.
I mean, that's fair.
But still, rest in peace, Henry Kissinger. All right. Well, I think we should go ahead and wrap it up. We're 22 minutes over. So thank you so much for joining us for today's live stream. It was super fun getting to chat with you guys and talk about, maybe the video game crossover, a lot of just what kind of got us into the hobby, which is just nice. It's like a reminiscent time of year, right? So it's good to do. Next live stream will be December 13th in 2 weeks, so we can start talking about what gifts we're all getting each other for Christmas.
There we go.
The holidays. So anyway, thank you all so much. We'll see you guys in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, good night, everyone.
Bye. Oh, got cool outro, so if you have comments, I can still answer your questions for the next couple of minutes. Beep, beep, beep. Barry, cover me. All right, guys, this is it. Copy that. No more sandwiches, Barry.
What's wrong with this place? I'm in the west corridor. I'm right outside the generator room. I'm out of bullets.